to act like the refs are against you or totally blew that call. Like let's just look at this for 2 seconds. I'm sorry, you are so egregiously offsides. How do you not call? Look at where was this Johnson or whatever on the other side
Yeah.
is. What is the line of scrimmage?
It's
Like
where the
I
I mean,
like,
yeah,
I get there's this blue line going across, right? The ball is honestly a half yard off of that blue line. The tackle is 2 yards behind that.
also the fact that you pulled up a tweet that's in Spanish is
I don't.
insane.
I just searched up the Kadarius Toney and came up with the first thing.
John pulls up a tweet that's literally in
I want to see.
Espanol. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah, he has to use Google Translate to translate. Like, what is
I
this
don't
guy
care what
doing?
the person's saying. I just need to.
Yeah, I know. I'm just giving you shit. But
know.
no, it's insane.
What is
and I
like,
listen. I actually understand the frustration that Andy Reid and Mahomes had after the game. Like, is it a penalty? 100%. But did this penalty affect the play? Not at all. And
yes, actually, no, it did. Who caught this ball at the end of the day?
But it didn't matter at all. That wasn't why he caught the ball. He didn't catch the ball. He got a lateral pitch to him late. Like, it didn't affect the play. But where do you draw the line is the question, right? He's clearly offsides.
So
if you scooch him up 10 yards, like, would that affect the play? Like, where does it actually start to affect the play?
Right, like, why are you getting mad about the official?
That's why it's a rule. Yeah, that's why it's a rule. Like, you have to call it. You have to call it.
I understand the frustration, but for them to literally be like, well, it was wrong, but you shouldn't call it because we're KC and this was a big situation. Like, that is the dumbest logic I've ever heard in my entire life.
They definitely sounded, I mean, Andy Reid and Mahomes definitely sounded like bitches. And
yeah, I mean, what he said, I mean, like, what a... I
after
don't
the
think I
game,
have this out on us. He goes to Allen and says that was like a horseshit call. Like, okay, dude, sweet.
Yeah,
you've lost 5 games this season. Shut up. Like, honestly, it pissed me off. Like, and again, it's because of the fact that it's like, what questionable play happened at the end of the Super Bowl that KC was on the benefiting side of, and it didn't sound like Pat Mahomes was like, no, for the sake of the game, we shouldn't. No, shut up. Like,
it looked like a spoiled brat, behavior, and that's exactly what it was.
I get if you're.
I hate it because it took away such an amazing play. That's why I hate it, and that's I think why they were so mad too.
Totally.
It's like, oh my god, did that really just get called back? And in the heat of the game, obviously, like Mahomes isn't going to notice Tony's offsides, right? He's not going to notice that, so he probably didn't realize how egregious.
The next day, like
that's true.
They still were talking about, and that's the thing is like. Don't get me wrong, heat of the game, you're pissed, whatever. You come back the next day after like seeing this screenshot and still having the same take. I'm like, come on, man. Like, that's just rough. Because, and honestly, I'm on the note of, okay, well, where do you draw the line? I am exhausted personally of lines of scrimmage looking like this. The Mighty Duck formations on the offensive line drive me nuts because it puts the defensive line at a huge disadvantage. That should be a penalty. Like, the line of scrimmage isn't real in this play. It's like a 2.5 yard range. That should not happen. That should not exist.
If the side judge can't see the ball at all and he can't see the other offensive lineman, you're pretty far off sides. So you have to call this. And I think that's what they explained when people asked them, like, why did you call it? Why didn't you give it? Because a lot of times they'll give you a warning if you're lining up as a receiver. Because, again, as a receiver, if you're a half yard or a yard off sides, it really doesn't change the play that drastically. Now, if you do it every time, they're going to warn you and be like, hey, you need to back up, and then you just back up. In this instance, there was no warning. They just threw the flag and took away one of the best plays we've ever seen. That's why they were so mad. But he was so far off sides that you have to call it. So
yeah, I don't. And again, I get, but just because there's stakes to a game and just because it's KC versus Buffalo doesn't change the fact that like football has rules that we're supposed to abide by. And again, I think the NFL needs to do a better job of making sure that offensive lines collectively play on the line of scrimmage because it puts the defensive line at a huge disadvantage if you have this Mighty Duck formation where everybody's in a triangle all the time. That's not this is just me, maybe just being a lineman and making too much emphasis on something that doesn't matter that much, but I actually think it does affect the game quite a bit.
It changes the game drastically.
Yeah,
it has all year.